welcome to a new episode of Healing Our Communities. I'm your host, Heather McDaniel, Vice President of the West Virginia Drug Intervention Institute. And today I have a very special guest with us. Everyone, meet Aaron Blankenship, Peer Recovery Support Specialist for West Virginia Collegiate Recovery Network. Welcome, Aaron, to Healing Our Communities.
Hi, everybody.
We are so excited to have Aaron here and talk about the West Virginia Collegiate Recovery Network. And so, Aaron, your role as a peer there, or a PRSS is what it's more commonly known as, what opportunities West Virginia students can take advantage of by getting involved with collegiate recovery. So let's allow our viewers just to learn a little bit more about you and your role as a PRSS and kind of what West Virginia Collegiate Recovery is and what it does, because there are probably some people that have never heard of it, or maybe they've heard of it, but they're just not really sure what you guys offer. So just to get started, can you just tell us a little bit about you and your history and kind of how you got where you're at now?
Sure. So my name is Aaron Blankenship, and I work as the PRSS at Southern West Virginia Community and Technical College. I work through a network called the West Virginia Collegiate Recovery Network. And I'm also a youth leader at our local church. I'm a leader of a Bible study group. I'm a Logan County Prevention Coalition board member. I'm the chair of the Mingo County Reentry Council. I'm also a reentry navigator. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a student at Concord now, pursuing a bachelor's in social work. So I've got many different things going on at the moment.
You have a full plate, it sounds like.
Yes, absolutely.
Super busy. We were talking about that this morning, how much you have going on over the next couple of weeks, even through your job and the opportunities that it's given you. How long have you worked with the Collegiate Recovery Network, Aaron?
I started in March of last year, and so it's probably about a year and a half, a little more than a year and a half now. And
Great.
When I started at the school that I'm at, there had been a lady that had been there just a few months, and so kind of picked up almost brand new in the position there.
But you've grown the program. We were just talking about that too. How many people at the school didn't even know what collegiate recovery was, and now a year later, how many more actually have heard about it or are utilizing the program, which is fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, great. So you're involved with collegiate recovery, as we've mentioned, as a PRSS. So what exactly is West Virginia Collegiate Recovery?
So West Virginia Collegiate Recovery Network is a network of certified peers that are at various institutions in Southern West Virginia. They're led by Susie Mullins. They're funded by the SOAR grant, the State Opioid Response Grant, with the grant being managed by the Marshall Center of Excellence. 9 is funded by the State Opioid Response Grant, and other institutions have picked up the recovery supports for themselves and directly funded by the schools or other grant funding. So there are certain ones that have actually picked up the funding for themselves and just kind of perpetuated what Collegiate Recovery, the network, has been doing from the state level in their school.
Which is great, because the schools are buying into the program and seeing what a benefit it is, and so they are saying, we're here at the table and want to fund these programs, which is fantastic.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, that's the overarching goal.
Yeah, that's
right?
what we want. We want all the schools to fund. How
Yes.
many schools have collegiate recovery on their campus?
Well, there are 9 that's funded by the State Opioid Response Grant. However, there are a couple more that have been picked up by their own institutions. So I'm thinking there's an additional 5 that have picked up funding sources from either the school themselves or other schools or other grant funding opportunities that are available to them.
Great, that's great.
Then what we do as a network, though, is we collaborate together to bring recovery services and a community of recovery services within the institution of higher education, right? So collegiate recovery started in this state at WVU back in 2015, and now their program has grown exponentially. You know, they've got places for their folks to meet. They've got programs. The recovery ally training that we do through collegiate recovery is actually implemented into the curricula there.
Wow.
So it's very nice to see the institution take the buy-in for themselves and pick that up and run with it. And I'd like to see that everywhere. I'd like to see that every institution in the state, right?
Right.
Because, you know, recovery services, much needed services all over the state. You know, much as we'd like to push it away, but the opioid epidemic hit us very hard.
Absolutely.
And so as a response to that, then, you know, these recovery services need to be in place to be able to help students get through their academic careers, you know.
Yeah, and I don't think some people realize how important recovery services are for college students, but we have to remember college campuses are known for being a party atmosphere, so that can be a very hard place to maintain recovery, which is where you guys are so important to these students.
Absolutely. So I take you back to an experience that I had. Actually, it was in 2015. I was a student at Southern and transferred to Marshall, and I didn't really have any support networks that were there in place during that time, and so I ended up running my run with what substance use disorder had given me, and the drugs and the lifestyle just took me straight out of the goals that I had for my education at that time. And it spent probably another 6 years before I finally got back into school and finished my degree at Southern.
Yeah. So you have to wonder if this would have been available when you were a student at Marshall, just how much better your experience there could have been and how it could have helped you be successful sooner than what you've been able to be now. But you've come so far since then, though.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is great. So what kind of opportunities does Collegiate Recovery Network offer to students? What kind of services are there that's available for students on those campuses?
Okay, well, they're ultimately what the Collegiate Recovery Network and Collegiate Recovery programs and communities are trying to do is to establish what we call safe place or a safe place or a area that people who are in recovery can feel comfortable in being at the institution. Stigma has run rampant for many years, and so when we're looking at creating those types of safe places that people can just kind of come together in fellowship and be a part of one another's lives and help support each other in ways that, most formal supports cannot offer.
Right.
Peer support, as peer recovery support specialist, that is part of that process, is being that peer that has lived experience
Right.
that can come through and say, well, I've been through some similar to the situations that you've been through, and so now here's what I've done to overcome that, and maybe you can try that, or hey, we can figure something else out.
Right.
I'd also like to mention that we host different recovery meetings. I do all recovery meetings, and so there are some of the others that do smart recovery meetings. There's a Celebrate Recovery that's in my local community that we take a big part in. We do recovery ally trainings. We do safe review modules. So a lot of different trainings, a lot of different ways to educate the students on prescription use, misuse, on opioids, on any type of narcotic, what type of damage it may do to them, their lifestyle, and recovery supports for families too, not just the students themselves or not just someone who is suffering from a substance use disorder, but also that the families are impacted by
Absolutely.
this as well. And so that's very important to be able to wrap around that support around each individual and show people hope.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys have rooms or places on campus where they can come and just hang out and know that it's a place where there's no alcohol, no drugs, and somewhere safe for them to be.
Yes, and in addition to the safe places like the room or something that you were referring to that they can come to, we also have like sober tailgating events. We have
great.
game nights. I've seen, some of the peers done very creative with some of the things that they offer at their campuses. It's really wonderful to see.
Yeah, they still want that college experience, but somewhere that they don't have to worry about a relapse or something like that.
Yes.
Which is great. And you guys offer naloxone training as well to students?
Yes, we do. We do Narcan trainings. We do them regularly, at least once every month.
Fantastic.
And we also do the Recovery Ally trainings, and we offer fentanyl test strips. Some of the campuses have actually put together packets to go in some of the restrooms to protect the students' anonymity that will offer 3 fentanyl test strips and some resources available for them for treatment options or some other things like NA meetings, AA meetings that are in the area. It's just whatever we can do to try to help support students and through their journey through academia.
Yeah, college is hard enough without having the recovery piece thrown in. So that extra support, I'm sure, is just amazing for kids to have on campus.
Absolutely.
So how can students get involved? Let's say they hear about collegiate recovery for the first time. What can they do to get involved on their campus? What do they need to do? What are those steps they need to take?
Well, what I would recommend to them is to reach out to the PRSS that is on their campus, and they should be able to direct them in how to best get involved in the collegiate recovery program that's there. You can find that information on the website, which is westvirginiacollegiaterecovery.org. And you should be able to get on there and see the directory of all the campus locations that we have. You should be able to find the directory of all the peers and the contact information for those peers on that website. Also, I'd like to mention that West Virginia Collegiate Recovery has offered a $500 scholarship, 2 $500 scholarships actually, for folks who self-identify as being in recovery. And we partnered with Cold River Coffee Company in order to sell the Recovery Roast Coffee.
Which is great, by the way.
Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah.
It's fantastic, and it's kind of surprising, but it was really great when I first tried it. But anyway, those proceeds will be going towards funding that recovery scholarships for people.
That's great.
So just to throw that little tidbit out there
that's
for you.
even another benefit, which is great. College is not cheap, and that just helps them come out of college without debt, which we all know student loan debt can be overwhelming. So
Yeah.
that's great that that's something that's offered.
For sure.
So what is peer recovery support specialist? Some people have probably heard the term and maybe they don't work in the field and they're so like, what in the world is that? And then what do you do in your role as a PRSS?
Okay, so to define what a PRSS does, I could probably be here all day.
I'm sure.
And just like what collegiate recovery programs are, they look different in every school and they look different at every level of the institution as well. So, PRSS is somebody that's had similar life experiences to help support somebody that's going through a tough time or might be, dealing with either substance use disorders or any other types of behavioral health disorders too. So some of the other peers on the other campuses have had things like eating disorder groups and anxiety groups and grief and depression groups, So it just kind of offer that level of support to somebody that, they might not be able to receive any other way. And whether they're not willing to go to a formal recovery support, like going to the counselor or going to the psychiatrist or going through medical treatment, just kind of give them that little bit of a leg up when it comes to, okay, well, you might not want to try that avenue, but it's okay because there are still people who care about you and love you and would want to see you do well. And I think that would probably be about the best that I could describe that at the moment because, in certain capacities, people will work with one-on-one support and they'll work in a clinic. And so the people will come in and they'll get to sit down and talk to them for an hour or so and kind of unload all the things, But in other capacities, and what I found has been very surprising to me is I work with a lot of administration at schools. So breaking down systemic stigma at that level,
That's
and
needed.
showing them, hey, listen, this guy is in recovery. He's came from the dark place, but is now in a lot brighter future, and that it's possible. That recovery is possible, and hope is ever all present.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure you've been a great example to the administration at the school of what recovery can offer people and that recovery is possible, like you said. So what would your advice be to someone who wants to get involved in this field or wants to work in this field? What would you tell them?
I would tell them do it.
Yeah.
Just go for it because it's much needed. And to be able to show that care and compassion for another human being is very gratifying, satisfying not only to yourself, but to them as well. It's kind of like the old adage, united we stand, divided we fall, A sense of unity within amongst peers is exactly how we progress forward to the future, growth and development of our society as a whole.
Yeah, and the field is growing so fast.
Yes, it is growing very fast. I'd like to point out that we have roughly about 5% of schools that are involved in collegiate recovery. So, and that is growing, as we go. The overall field of the PRSS itself is probably a lot higher than that, a lot higher numbers. Collegiate recovery is kind of like a specialized field to be working with students. They're very well trained. Trust me, believe me, I've been through it. Very well trained and very ready before they ever hit the campuses and ready to do the work. And some of the other capacities that a PRSS could work in, they'll train you as you go. There's a lot more availability for jobs that are out there for people who are wanting to pursue the PRSS field or the behavioral health field altogether. So yeah, I would just do it and find out what you're passionate about and go for it.
I think that's great advice. That's fantastic. So collegiate recovery is in about 9 campuses on the state. So do you see that growing and growing soon? Do you think we're going to see expansion to other campuses soon?
I would love to see expansion to other campuses soon. And I'd love to see more buy-in from the campuses that we have, to pick up the programs themselves and fund them themselves. State Opioid Response Grant has been wonderful to fund us up to this point, and I'm so happy and fortunate for them. But eventually what we'll see, just like with any other grant, is those funds will eventually go away, and I would want to see the people that we serve gain the type of support that they're getting now.
Right. We don't want to see that go away when a grant ends. And so that's where the university and college buy-in is absolutely so important. So
yes.
If students don't have collegiate recovery at their school and they hear about it on another campus and maybe they're a student in recovery and that's something they really want, Any advice on what they could do to try to get that on their campus?
Yeah, there's a monthly networking call the second Tuesday at 10 a.m. And you could speak to Susie Mullins, and she would be more than happy to help guide you in creating a collegiate recovery program on your campus. She is a wonderful person, a delight to be around, and she is very knowledgeable, has tons of information on collegiate recovery and different funding sources, different ways and avenues, even if you don't have the funding to get it started up. Peer support groups and things don't cost a thing, you know?
Right.
Just to know that, you know, you have somebody there that'd be more than willing to help.
That's great.
Also, you can find her contact information online on the website.
Perfect. So if people want to reach out to her, that's available on your website as well.
Yes.
Great. Well, we're talking to Erin Blankenship, Peer Recovery Support Specialist with the West Virginia Collegiate Recovery Network. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back to finish up with Erin shortly.
At the WVDII, we believe that every home with an opioid should have a life-saving naloxone kit on hand. For your free kit and online training, visit WVDII.org.
Welcome back to Healing Our Communities, and we are still talking with Erin Blankenship, PRSS with West Virginia Collegiate Recovery Network. So Erin, I know that you recently graduated from the campus that you're working on at Southern West Virginia Community and Technical College. So what are you doing now, and kind of what are your educational and career goals at this point now that you've achieved such a great accomplishment? Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much. Yes, I did graduate with an associate's in applied sciences and business administration. I have recently registered and am now attending the fall semester at Concord for the bachelor's in social work. And so social work is really where I'm going towards, right? Get the master's in social work, get
Yeah.
licensed in social work, and you know, just I'm thinking overall career goals is the macro approach to the social work field, you know.
Good for you.
Working with organizations and helping building organizations and capacity in their organization in order to be able to help the most people possible.
Yeah.
And probably going to stay within the substance use disorder field.
Yeah,
you know,
I think
recovery
once you
fields.
get in, it kind of gets a hold of you, and you can't.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's so close to your heart too. It's hard to walk away from that for sure.
Yes,
Well, that's
yes.
great. Good luck with all that. I'm sure you'll accomplish all of those goals. So, how have your past experiences in life informed your work you're doing? How do you think that helps you in the role you have now?
Well, I can see that the experiences that I've had in my life have helped me tremendously in just everyday face-to-face interaction with people that are dealing with tough issues. You know, having that type of experience and coming through that type of experience and just being able to share, for nothing else, the moment in which they're feeling that type of pain, you know. I've experienced it too. And so it helps tremendously to have that in my pocket, so to speak, being able to walk in when I'm helping support somebody through a difficult situation or something they might be able to go or might be going through. Also, we were just talking about me graduating, so navigating those
Yeah, college.
college,
Yeah.
right? In general, just navigating college
Right.
and being able to help somebody through that whole process
Yeah,
is
registering for
tremendous.
classes, picking out what you need to take. That can all be overwhelming without anything else going on in your life. And so, how long have you been in recovery now, Erin?
4 years.
Congratulations. That's fantastic. And I'm sure for your students, they can look at you and say, okay, I'm really struggling right now, but look how well Erin's doing. It's possible I can get to this point too. And he graduated college and he's working on a bachelor's degree.
Yes,
Which is
absolutely.
great. So
Leading
I'm
by
sure-
example, right?
Right, absolutely, yeah. And you'll be able to help them through that whole process, you know, once they graduate from Southern, even to say, okay, now you can do this next step at Concord or wherever else you may want to enroll as well. So how do you think your role as a PRSS contributes to your goals of wanting to continue in the recovery field and earning your master's in social work?
Well, I think it's going to contribute a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Because basically, I'm doing the same thing now as I
Right,
would
you're
be
already
doing
working in
when I
it.
get,
Yeah,
when I get the
right.
degree. I'm already doing that.
Yeah, you'll have so much experience behind you before you ever have the degree.
Right, and you know, so it's definitely going to help out a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure when you go to class, it's going to be, hey, I already know this stuff. This is what I've been doing. So if someone wanted to get involved in social work, any advice for them? Social work can be a really tough field. I know some folks that work in that field, and it can be hard, rewarding but hard. Any advice for someone that wants to work in that field?
Well, again, I'll just tell them to do it. Check your heart and see if that's where your goals and aspirations in life are. And if that's something that really sticks out to you, it appeals to you, then do it. Put your feet to the ground and start walking the path.
Right.
There's nothing else left but to do it, right? Well, after you plan out your steps and you get yourself to the point to where you've got your path marked out for you, I would just tell you, one foot in front of the other. And take your steps easy, take your steps light, because sometimes life can be overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes life in general can throw you a curveball.
For sure.
So you don't be running too fast. That curveball gonna knock you straight off the track.
Yeah. And do you think it's beneficial for someone that's interested in social work to maybe work in the PRSS field first, or in behavioral health in general first before pursuing that?
Well, the PRSS would be for someone who's had to live through that type of experience. So, no, I wouldn't want to recommend them having to live that type of experience at all. Any at all possible, please
avoid that.
Avoid that. Okay. But, yeah, sure. If they want to work in the field somewhere, it doesn't matter what capacity, as long as they're around the environment that, they're looking towards getting their degree in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just help them know that this is for sure what they want to do. Solidify that career path for them.
And give them experience on where they're going.
Always helpful, for sure. So what do you think has surprised you the most about this position that you're in with Collegiate Recovery?
Working with the administration and working as that role, working with the administration, has surprised me the most. Being able to talk to presidents of the colleges and chancellors and vice chancellors, and having the opportunity to be up here at the Capitol and talk to legislatures, and this is something that just boggled my mind. I mean, honestly, I was like, man, is this really happening?
But your voice is important. You have experience that they don't have.
Yes, absolutely. And everybody's voice is important,
Absolutely.
Right? Everybody's voice is important. I'm so glad and thankful that somebody's actually around to hear my voice today.
Right.
Somebody wants to hear my voice. But yeah, so that was probably the thing that most excited me the most about it, right? Because my background, I've worked in a garage most of my life, and I've worked with my hands other than that. I've been a carpenter and concrete worker and block layer, and I've done all those types of skilled labor work, but never really office work. And I was just talking to Susie about that the other day. It's like the first real office job that I've ever had. And then I get the opportunity to speak to all these people, and the real chance to make an impact, make change in our society, and make it for the better, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the thing that most excites me.
Yeah, you get to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Which is great. And so that's fantastic. Is there anything that has disappointed you in your line of work now, or anything that you've been surprised that maybe didn't go the way that you thought that it would?
The only thing I can think of that has really disappointed me is to see the level of buy-in from the systems, and what I'm referring to specifically is the ability to pay for the positions at their schools, right? Themselves, because it's so important, the work we do. And we talk about whether or not the work is qualified or not, or whether it's going to quantify the means in order to be able to and justify whether or not it's going to be effective in the long run, and it is. I've seen personal narratives from people that is absolutely tell you 100% that the support that they've received is, by and part and large, the reason why they made it through school, and are now very productive and effective people in whatever lives capacity they have. So just people that aren't willing to come across the stigma and come across the hey, look, they're just horrible people. They made horrible choices, and substance use disorder is a very real disorder, and it is a medical condition. So it's very, very disappointing to me to see the level of people that have had that type of ideation.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're really helping combat stigma on your campus just by getting involved with administration.
Absolutely.
And being that example for them.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere, in the community, on the campus, everywhere I go.
Yeah, which is great.
Try to be a light.
You and I had that conversation before we came up here today about someone that you had spoken with who had a very opposite thought of people and had struggled with substance use disorder, and then you were able to help him start a recovery meeting because of your example, which is great.
Very,
we need
very
more
thankful.
of that. We need more of that.
Very thankful.
So what is it about your role, or not even in your role at West Virginia Collegiate Recovery Network, but just working in this field that inspires you and keeps you hopeful for the future? It can be easy to lose hope in this field. So what keeps you going?
Well, you know, I would have to say the look on the people's faces that actually receive that type of help, that need somebody, and then you're able to be there for them, you know, to know that you're making a real difference and see that come to fruition right in front of your eyes. That is so,
Yeah.
I mean, almost bring a tear to your eye, knowing that I used to be there too. I used to be right where they were at, in that dark place, and I never thought that I could have any help. I never thought that I could get any better. I never thought anything would ever get any better. And then, you know, it did.
Yeah.
And being able to reach back and offer that type of assistance to somebody, that is definitely the most gratifying piece to what I do.
Literally changing lives
Yes.
every day, which is huge. So do you guys have any events coming up with Collegiate Recovery Network or on your campus? Anything that people should know about, to watch for, or anything they can get involved in if they want to?
Well, we've got Save a Life Day. It's coming up Thursday, September 14th, right?
Yeah.
That one's huge. That one's going all the way across the Appalachian region, which is, it's
Tell people
grown.
what Save a Life Day is if they don't know what that is.
So Save a Life Day is a mass distribution of Narcan, naloxone, which is a life-saving drug that is given to people who have experienced an opioid overdose. And it is given in 4 milligram doses through a nasal injection. And it has no side effects other than that of acute withdrawal.
Right.
And it's safe to use on anybody for an opioid overdose. And what we'll do on Save a Life Day is there are many different sites all the way through the state and all the way through the Appalachian region now that are going to be setting up tables, that are going to be setting up booths, and going to be distributing that Narcan and giving out trainings and to the people that are, anybody that wants it, so that we can save as many lives as possible, you know. And in Logan, we are going to be having a recovery walk through town. And a big community event, going to have tons of community partners, you know, games and food and music. There's going to be live music there. Really big fight against the stigma through the town, being able to do those walks and walk through town, and people seeing the unification of the people in the community that are ready to battle this
Together.
epidemic of what a substance use disorder has brought.
You want to tell us the Collegiate Recovery website one more time so people can take a look at that if they want to reach out to anyone, and we can get that out there for everybody?
Yes, it's WV, West Virginia Collegiate Recovery Network.org.
Great. And so they can find your information, Susie's information, and find out who the peer is on the campus they may be at if they'd like to get involved.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for coming and chatting with us today. It was great talking to you and learning more about what West Virginia Collegiate Recovery Network's doing, especially now that school just started back up for students, and we really appreciate you coming. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Healing Our Communities.